If you know, you know. But if you don't know, you know.
Now you know. Now you know. If you know, you know. The big ballers in town. Now you know. Now you know. Forget what they know them, yes. Agba baller. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'. Premium or nothing.
When them or nothing.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Forget what they know them, yes. Undefeated, undisputed, unopposed, luxury or nothing. Money is talking, money is talking. Blessings on blessings. Forget what they know them, yes. Agba baller. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'. Premium or nothing.
When them or nothing.
Now you know. Now you know.
Now you know.
Forget what they know them, yeah.
If you know, you know. But if you don't know, you know.
Now you know. Now you know. If you know, you know. The big ballers in town. Now you know. Now you know. Forget what they know them, yes. Agba baller. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'. Premium or nothing.
When them or nothing.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Forget what they know them, yes.
Here is our beautiful designer, Yolanda Okereke.
Thank you so much.
Some of you may not know that she is not just a clothing designer with her own studio called Baraka Studio, but she is also a world-renowned costume designer, artist, stylist to the stars. We'd love to talk about her career and the relationship between what she does as a passion, which is clothing, film, storytelling, and the different roles that clothing tells within the industry. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming all the way from Nigeria.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everybody, for sitting here and enjoying the show. Did you like it?
Yes.
So I'll tell you the story. I'm sure when you listen to the video and what you saw on stage is two completely different things. What you saw in the video is hanging in the African Fashion Forum stand.
Yes.
You can purchase some of the simple pieces that came out of Baraka Studio. So what I showed here, because I was going to talk about costume designing and film, it's costumes I use in the movie were just recently shot in Nigeria. So those are character costumes that you saw. So the backstory, or will I say the logline of the movie is we've all seen Crazy Rich Asians. We've all seen this kind of stories. We tell those kind of stories in Nigeria. So what we did with this story is a story of an affluent family, and it was a mixture of like a Bridgerton. What would a Bridgerton African family look like? What would a crazy um, rich Asian family look like? So what you saw here is what they wore for a family portrait. Nigerians are extra. We're very extra in everything we do. It's a naming ceremony for a baby, is extra. It's a birthday party, is extra. It's a wedding, is extra. So I have an exhibition right beside Theater One. So that showcases more pieces from these same movies. So that one, I put most of the African looks where I talked about two different tribes, the Igbo and the Yoruba culture. So what I showed here was what the English version of what we as Nigerians like to look like when we try to tap into our into the Western world to tell our kind of fashion. And it's a little exaggerated. I couldn't bring the big pieces because one piece is like 15 kg, and then the whole human being has to carry it. But that's what makes you an actor, when you embody and then you wear those costumes and then you become. So that's what I told here. So this is just one family in the film. There are other families, and it's very elaborate. Comes out next year. I hope you guys enjoy when you see it. So I think you've seen the costumes now, so you'll be like, I saw that. Say, yeah.
So what is your process like when do you receive a script? Like a
Yeah.
lot of people here work in fashion, but we don't work in film. So we start with the story in our heads as designers, and then we try to portray it. But as someone who works on set styling and coming up with the stories of the characters, what does the process start like with you?
The process is a very interesting process. And like I always say, if you're a filmmaker, you're a storyteller and you're also a truth sayer, because everything we see on screen has to have some element of truth. If you say they're poor, we need to see they're poor. If they're from a village, we need to see that. If we need to talk about affluence or money, we need to see all of that. So the first process is getting the script and understanding the script. So you must read the script. Without a script, there's no story, because that's where even the director, producer, the makeup artist, production designer, everybody comes together. And then we break the script down to the barest minimum, like strip it down to the locations, the characters, how many characters do we have, where we're filming, is it in Lagos, is it in Joburg, is it in New York, where we're filming, and what are the internal locations, like there's a living room, there's a bedroom. So it takes a village to make a film. It takes an entire village. So when, on my side as a costume designer, I read the script and I try to understand the character. So I always have a conversation with the producer and the director, because the director tells the story. That's why you see a Steven Spielberg film, you see an Aki Show film, because they are the people telling the story. So I can't tell that story by myself. So the vision of the director is what you guys see here. Like, what do you see these people as? What are they supposed to look like? Who are they supposed to be? So there's a backstory. So for every character, there's a backstory. She was 5 years old. She ran away from home. She came back. She did this. She did that. So that allows you. We all have backstories. We all have. There's a reason why you're sitting down here today. You made a decision to come and sit down here today. There's something else you want to do. There's something that made you do what you're doing as a makeup artist, as an oil or tech mogul. Something made you make that choice. So that also is being portrayed in the story. So you see some characters who just wear one color. There's a reason why. And colors also tell different tones in the story. So red tells something, green tells something, white tells something. So all of these choices have to be made based on the script. You have to read from first scene to the last scene, and you break it down, and then we start to run with it. Like, what fabric is going to work, what designer am I going to work with, what tailor am I going to work with, because these people can also make or break. So sometimes some of the finished work you see on screen is like the fifth attempt or the fourth. You do the first one, you're like, nah, this is crap. This is second, like, yeah. Then the fourth thing, like, now we're getting somewhere. Then you're on set, you're still gonna change one or two things, And sometimes you have accidents on set. So some costumes will make like double or triple, just so. So it's a very big part of storytelling, and I made it my life's vision to bring the African fashion into film, because I realized like we're leaning so much on what we find in the boutiques as opposed to the creative minds we have. I looked around the continent. We have so many talented people, from Cameroon to Zimbabwe to Niger, Namibia. But the only problem is, how do we reach out to collaborate? Because I want to tell the next set of movies I want to tell. I don't want to work with just Nigerian designers. I want to work with designers from every other part of Africa and have your stuff being showcased. One of my greatest pride and joy, I would say, is when I fly on a plane. You know, when you go to use the bathroom and you're walking back to your seat, and you can just have people are watching. People watch African content, and I look, and they're not my color. They are other races, and you see them laughing and enjoying this thing. So we are going global. We Our music has traveled so far, and now the film is trying to make its way. And I believe that we can make that happen. And this happening is already a stepping stone for that.
Absolutely. And it is actually quite fascinating to see that we are exporting our culture and we're proudly exporting it. So it's amazing that the people who are on set are from those cultures as well. Tell us about maybe some behind the scenes of one of your favorite projects. Tell us about what the project was, what the movie was, and the process, and why you enjoyed it so much.
I have shot a lot of films, so let me try and
There
pull
must
one
be
from
there
my-
must be one that stands out as an experience.
I would talk about two.
Mm.
I'll talk about Blood Sisters because I shot that film in one of the hardest time of my life when I was going through a very, very hard phase. So I feel like a lot of what I was going through, I had to channel all that stress, the struggle, and the pain to just bring out something beautiful. So Blood Sisters taught me that out of your pain can come something really, really beautiful. And because I had about, I think for a big project like that, I had 3 weeks to make over 100 costumes. I had to, and I was working with big stars in Nigeria. When I mean big stars in Nigeria, I mean they are divas. They read the script and they have expectation. Who is your costume designer, Yolanda? Oh my God! I'm like, Jesus Christ, how am I going to do this? Yes, but somehow there's a trust that I think over time you earn in the course of doing this kind of work, and then you're blessed. Like I said, the designers were just amazing. So everybody just ran with the vision. So that was really cool. So because we had an engagement scene, we had a wedding scene, but I think my favorite scene is the scene with Potential coming down from a private jet that starts episode 3, because this woman just lost her son and she's mourning, and she comes down in all her glory, and like, is she going for a fashion show? So then when I saw this, that's why I said what does the scene says allows me to interpret it in the best way I feel it would be visually stunning. So he says she's descending the stairs of a private jet. I was like, how is she going to descend? I need her to look very, very. And he said, okay, how about she has a cape? Everybody's like, she has a cape? I said, yes. She comes out, you're not sure who's there. She has this hood on, and then she pushes it back, and then you see her. And she's descending. She has a train, and it's just flowing. And I must say, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a good choice. So I really enjoyed that because that was the 5th attempt. The first outfit, I was like, Jesus Christ, this will not work on
Not
TV.
working.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Then I recently shot a movie last year that's on Netflix. It's called House of God. It's an epic. I haven't done an epic. So I'm Nigerian, but I'm Igbo. And this film is a Yoruba film, 2 entirely different culture. And it's not just set in the modern times, it's 1700s. So you have to do all that research. So it was like, that was 4 months of prep. We had to do 1 month of research, try to see what was going to work. Obviously, you can't find anything as far back as that. You can only try to create. So I said, okay, you know what, guys? Game of Thrones, people like it. I don't think whatever era that was, they were wearing this kind of fancy fur and clothes. So this is going to be our own 1700 Game of Thrones for Nigeria. So we kind of tapped into that, but we used a lot of Yoruba pieces. So just in sourcing those pieces, it took a lot. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort, but the reception was worth it. Like, people loved it, and because a lot of people didn't think I could do it, because we have a little tribalism in Nigeria where they're like, you're not from here, so you can't represent. I said, what did you say? I'm not Yoruba, I'm Igbo, so I said, okay, I'll show you. So when the movie came out, my friend said, post this on your page, and she sends me a whole flyer she designed. I wrote Yolanda Okereke, costume designer, and I posted it. I'm like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, so those 2 projects were very, very, very special because of the amount of work and effort and the reception after it came out. Yes. And this one, I'm looking forward to this one because this I had to create 150 costumes from scratch. Yeah, because we've gotten past the point where you just go to the boutiques and pull whatever's on the rack, and I try not to have pieces are being worn by so many people, except I really have to. So I enjoy the creative process from sketch to illustration to the final piece you see when you fit it and when you put it on the screen. So yeah.
Is there a big difference in your process between TV, film, music? What is the difference between working on those three different sets given different timelines, budgets?
I don't like music.
You don't like music?
They're spontaneous.
Ah.
They're very spontaneous because they don't have the time to sit down. Like we have the time to script. They're just like, this is the show flow. He's Burna Boy is on stage tomorrow. How am I gonna get a dress for an album with Burna Boy for tomorrow? Like, and they're like, make it happen. Or they want to shoot a music video. They give it to you. They give you the treatment 48 hours before. I can't be creative with that. I'm just gonna give you what's there. I'm not going to put any thought into it. So I don't really like music, but there's some people that have run with it and they're doing amazing with music. Film is a process. I enjoy the process. I enjoy from the script writing, being involved in from the table reading, breaking down the script from start to bottom, and developing these characters because you're in total control. You decide where you want them to go under the eye of the director. Yeah, and then as you create and you see it as you fit, it just there's a sense of pride and joy that just comes with that.
Yeah.
And when the audience respond to it, when you get those comments on Instagram or Facebook and then the DMs like, oh, I like that, where's this from, yeah. And then when the designers or the tailors give you their own feedback and they go like, thank you, I think that's gratifying.
It's far more rewarding.
Yes.
Okay, lastly, tell us about any future projects specifically, where people can watch it, when they can expect to see it, something you're excited about and working on right now. This one.
So this one is called Something About the Briggs. It comes out in 2025. We shot it in May, and it's it's a really great story. It's a family story.
It's distributed by?
I'm not sure. Is it Film One? I'm not sure. Yes, I haven't been in contact that much because I'm always
We'll look for it.
Yes. Then there's another one called Seven Doors. That one is an epic as well. But those are the two installations I put out there. So that's coming out in November on Netflix. Yeah.
Perfect. We have got Yolanda's own creations inside our showroom, so please go and have a look at those. And a little bit further down in the conference center, she has put together some looks from past shows she's done for different characters. See if you can recognize who the clothes belong to for those different shows. Beautiful installation. We're so privileged to have you. Thank you for coming once again. And I'll open the floor for any questions if anyone has any. But if not, we'll end it here. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, Danai, yes. Our last designer, go ahead. There's a mic coming.
Hi, Yolanda.
Hello.
Thank you for sharing your story. It's very inspiring indeed, and I've gotten to enjoy your clothes as well, especially the exhibition. I wanted to find out, how did you make the transition from fashion design into film?
Oh, that's a very interesting one. So I studied fashion designing in uni, and there was no money. Fashion design is very expensive. You're going to run a whole lot of experiment until somebody says, I like this. And it's not enough to say, I like it. I like it to buy it, and I like it for you to make it for me and not pay for it. So you're going to end up having so many clothes stashed at the back of your room that you do not know what to do with them. So that was my life in uni and post-uni. And one random day, I think I was making an outfit for some actress, and she said, I want you to dress me. I said, for what? She was like, for a movie. I said, I said, how does that work? She's like, okay, I'll tell you what my character is about. She tells me what her character is about. Then she says, okay, let's go to my wardrobe, put something together. So we did it the first time, did the second time, and then the third time, another actress is like, oh, are you dressing her? Oh, dress me too. And I did not understand that you had to read the script. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. And then I'm self-taught. My plan was to go to school at some point and learn, but there's something when you just start and then life just happens and carries you with it. So I was like this little stream that joined the river and just joined the ocean, and I just ran with it. And I dressed both of them. So I think it was by the 4th or 5th movie, and she said, okay, let me teach you how to do this. You read it, anywhere you see my name, pull it out, and just write the location right, what do you think I would wear going to that restaurant? What do you think I would wear going to the beach and stuff like that? So that was how I learned to read and do a breakdown. And one random, another, my life is just, my life is a life of blessings. I don't know. I've never had to fight to get to this point. It just started one day and everything just happened. And I got called to, she was like, where are you? I said, I just got back from church. She's like, okay, can you bring me a dress? Can you bring me a suit? I was like, for who? She's like, for an actress that's your size. I was like, where? She calls the location. She's like, come now. I was like, okay. Then I got there. I'm dropping this suit and this dress, and the next thing I saw was a big binded papers. I was like, what's this? Like, oh, that's the script. Resume tomorrow. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Yeah. And just like, what you did the last time 2 years ago for me, that's what I want you to do with this. The director will talk to you. And the director comes, has a conversation with me, and I just ran with it. And I got my first costume design nomination from that film. I wasn't expecting it, and then it just happened. So I think because I already knew the rudiments of being a fashion designer, it was easy to transition into the costume designer, because the difference is with fashion designing, you're just designing what I give to you or what comes to mind. But with costume design, you're designing it specifically, it's specific to a scene and to a character. Like, who is this person? Okay, she wears really tailored outfits, or she's very formal. Then you start to look for who can tailor this kind of outfits. What will she wear if she's in her office, if she goes for a conference, if she travels, if she's dating? Because everything has to sync. So like how you build the capsules in collections. So it's almost like that in costume design. So that was it. I didn't wake up wanting to be a costume designer, though I know I had issues watching our movies and be like, these people look horrible. And I really, like, I'm coming to fix this. I'll fix this. I thought I was coming to fix it as a fashion designer. I didn't know the real blessing and calling was fixing it as a costume designer. So I've transitioned from that to also being a producer. So top to bottom, I know the whole process. So I'm very quick to say this budget will work. So I also fight for the budget, because everything is expensive. And for you to get good quality stuff, you have to spend money. Like all these pieces, I remember when I wrote the budget, my producer was like, oh my God. I said, yes, but we'll find the money and they will make it. She's like, okay. Then she's like, what do we do with them? I said, I don't know. We can exhibit them. And if we get to auction them, let's see. It depends on what the audience response is. And from your response, I'm like, yes, we did great. Yeah. So that's the story.
So the motto is, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. The opportunity comes, you can say yes straight away. Did you have a question? There we go. You were just agreeing. Fantastic. Is there any? Yes, I see a hand right at the back. Oh, nope, the mic is off.
Hello? Perfect. I just want to ask, what type of support do you think the fashion industry needs from the government? Do you think you guys need like protection from outside fashion, just so that you guys can have the space and the opportunity to compete and show off your work to people, or what? Like, what support is needed to help the industry thrive and grow?
Ooh,
Especially for your market, you're coming from West Africa.
that's a very interesting question, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and I said, I'm actually tired of going for all these government events, where you sit down as a creative, and but they do this thing where they call you every like 3 6 months, and you say the same thing in 2020, say the same thing in 2021, 2022. There are a whole lot of talented people. They just don't have the resources or the placement. So let's not talk about the resources. Let's talk about the placement. What can you do to take it up? I would say, apart from politics in Nigeria, currently the highest employer of labor is actually the movie industry, then the music industry, because we're filming every day, and 75% of it is self-funded. We thank God for the blessing of the Netflix and Amazons when they came to Africa and extended to West Africa, and we had kind of like bigger budgets. So, and then we have power issues. So we're struggling with forex. We're struggling with what the exchange rate is, which is ridiculous. Then you have power issues. We run on generators. We don't have 24 hours light. So what will a young designer make if you have to buy fuel or diesel to power your generator? to make a piece. So sometimes when they give me the cost, I can't even negotiate because I'm thinking, what is their profit? Because they're going to cut, they're going to run. These machines run on power. There's no power. So I always say, it's not, don't even build anywhere. Give us power first. Solve the basic problem, which is power. Let us have power. Then the cost of buying fuel for your generators will go down. That would also affect the pricing point for every outfit. Because some outfits are made, some outfits it takes about a week for them to make it because you're joining, you're piecing together. This is you can't control a creative mind. Then even those that are doing like bulk sewing, they need stability. So power, first of all. The grants, we don't really, you just go around pitching. I don't know about these grants, but at least start from somewhere. If you have power, you have enough money to buy like 5 fabrics, you make it, put it on somebody. Somebody's gonna say, right now, the biggest market is social media. Just put your clothes on, somebody will see it. Somebody will say, I like that. Somebody will say, I want to buy that. It might take a week, it might take 2 weeks, it might take a month, but you will make it sell on. Why is everybody running to YouTube? Because they're making money from YouTube. So
Yeah,
I
you
would
have to
say,
start with what you have.
yeah, I would say we just need power before anything else.
And as a young designer, I think if you are starting a brand, you have to start with what you have and not look for much outside help because people don't want to help those who don't have proof of concept. So you need to put something out into the world for people to understand what your vision is, for them to invest in you. So start with what you have. Yeah. Is there anyone else with a question? Yes.
Ooh.
Would you wait for the mic from Carmen?
I actually didn't take a mic. I was like, it's complicated. I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
1 2 1 2, let's go. Okay, cool. I kind of have to low key explain to you what I'm doing. Firstly, briefly, I think, so that when I do ask the question, you have like a background of what I'm trying to answer. Firstly, okay. Hi guys, my name is Poppy. So I am like a young film designer slash filmmaker from ABDA. So I have studied and stuff like that. But I'm currently working on my master's right now. And what I'm doing, it's actually quite interesting that you said that you are Ibu, because I'm from a tribe called the Limba people. And just basically in like a nutshell, we are the Black Jews of southern parts of Africa. But I also do know that the Igbos are Jewish. So that
Thank you
one,
for that knowledge.
I was just like, yes, girl, I want to talk to you after this. So because we assimilated, just briefly, because we assimilated from obviously Jerusalem down to southern parts of Africa, we assimilated into the Venda culture. So our traditional attire is very heavily influenced by the Venda culture, to the point where our traditional attire is literally just another color, but everything else is the same. So I think for my master's project, my attempt is to create a Limba specific attire for us, our tribe, because I feel like that's just fair for us as Limba people. And my attempt of doing that is through using music, I'm gonna use music to create patterns. So I'm gonna be using like vibrations, and from those vibrations I'm going to create patterns from that. I do obviously have a way of figuring how that is done, but for me my question is now, like, how do I create this body of work, but also create it in a way that it doesn't necessarily look
Contrived.
westernized. It looks African. What advice would you give me in creating that? I don't think there's anything wrong with finding inspiration from Western cultures and everything, but because it's a African traditional attire, how do I like link modern aesthetic but still giving homage to like tradition, because it is a traditional attire? And then maybe like eventually, then that's when I can start creating like a contemporary way. But for now, how do I create that aesthetic considering your
That ties
experience.
nicely into your work because you actually modernize a lot of what is called African traditional work. So yeah, tell us about that process. Maybe we'll give you some insights and ideas.
Okay. I would say your first project should did you see Black Panther? Yes. What did you think about Black Panther? How did it make you feel as an African?
Let's keep the mic. It made me feel represented.
Awesome. And so represented because they went as far as even creating Black Panther as a country in Africa and placing it on the map. I thought that was genius. So you go to America, you go to Europe, they think there's a real country called Wakanda. Meanwhile, it's all fictitious. Why? Because of what you just said. How can I create something that leaves an impression that still says, okay, this is Africa? So if you look at what Ricardo did in Black Panther with Angela Bassett's costume, I thought that was crazy stunning. The crown, what do you guys call it in South Africa? The hat thing? Jesus. I would never have thought that I could use it as a crown for a queen. So that was the model. And she did a 3D. I've had the opportunity to interview her twice. So I did ask all these questions. And I'll talk about the scene that was visually stunning to get to your point. And she did a 3D model. She saw it and she liked it and was like, oh, I love this. It's so beautiful. I think this should be the queen's crown. Because typically every other crown you see in the world is one design. It's just that round band and it just goes around your head. But what they did with that, it framed her face so well. Like every time she came out with that on her head, she looked so powerful. And she was the only person that wore it in the film. So that meant that was a crown. She did a 3D design and fabricated it and did a sample and did about 3-4 samples until she got the final one. And she just kept tweaking the fabric that she was using on them. So they were just different. So even when you saw T'Challa come out, that's the king, Black Panther himself, he was wearing caftans. But just the intricacy of the embroidery choices on those caftans, you could have thought they were suits. Then you look at it again and you're like, these are actual caftans, Senegalese designs. We wear those in Nigeria. We wear a lot of caftans in Nigeria. Now we even have different names for them, sultana, all sorts of names for them. What the priest wore, she said, was an inspiration from the Yoruba culture in Nigeria, the agbada. So an agbada is a long garment that's like really oversized, and then we do that. So I have one
In the
displayed there.
installation, I was going to say.
Yeah. So she saw it and she liked it and she felt it was very regal for the chief priest to just look different. So she went around Africa looking at all our fashion and what our cultural attires were, and she played with them. And she designed her own fabric and threading, and then she did her version of the agbada and added all sorts of things to it. It was when she said that, because when I saw it, I was like, this looks very familiar. Then I saw it again. And when she said that, I went back, I was like, oh, I see what you did there. So she took a little bit of a Western design and implemented it in African fashion and cultural pieces and just made them very statement pieces. So anything that's cultural to you, you can. So what I always try to tell everybody is not to lose the authenticity of your Africanness, because people also try to buy Africa. People are watching Africa. Africa is the next hottest thing going on right now. Look at Afrobeat. Look at Amapiano. It's traveled around the world. Then the best scene in Black Panther. Black Panther was like a PhD study for me as an African and costume designing in fashion. And I said, anybody that wants to do fashion and wants to travel around the world, look at what she did in Black Panther. The fountain, where they did the pit fights. She had about 20 cultural and 20 tribes represented there, different, and they all had their distinct look. And it was just interesting that you could see, even the Dora Milaje, that's not what they look like. Look at Woman King, Viola Davis's version. It was closer to what they looked like as opposed to what she did. So she brought science into it. So there's this whole fabrication, this whole fabric, whole design, it's really complicated. It's so computerized, like sometimes I don't even understand. Like we weave All those the agbada is just thread that's woven into that big masterpiece, right? And it's threads. They have these wooden things that these women will just set up, and they put the different threads, and they just start to go. And before you know what's happening, they've given you a fabric that's this long, and all you have to just do is cut your design. And you say, "Oh, I want my name on it." How they weave your name on it, I don't even understand how they do that, but that's their stock and trade, right? So there's so much that you can do to make your tribe, your that cultural piece, and make it something that somebody outside would say it wouldn't look so cultural. And it doesn't really matter if it looks cultural. It doesn't really matter. But we use a lot of coral beads and cowries. Those are embellishments. We don't have to use gold stones, and we can use all these are raffia pieces. What are raffias? Palm fronds. People use that in doing fashion. Like when I look at the young people coming out in Nigeria now, when I go for fashion shows, I'm like, wait, how did they think of that? People are thinking. And fashion is as it comes to you, as you're inspired. So whatever inspires you, what do you see? So what I see is not what you see, but somebody will always catch the vision of what you're trying to see. Like when I saw House of Stone, I saw your display, and I said, oh, why didn't I know her last year? Because I wanted that in the movie. I couldn't find somebody to do something like that for me. So when you were setting up 2 days ago, I was like, wow. Because I was like, can I just rewind time? Let me just go back. So people are using like crazy things to just, and they just bring fashion out of it. Like, so I totally get where you're coming from. I think you should continue that direction and just, but you must always run a sample. So you have to see it, because sometimes what is here and what you bring out, two different things. So what I do is what I have here, I illustrate to see it visually, like what would it look like. Then you run a sample. Then you start to tweak until you get that final one that makes you happy.
So your voice and inspiration are what's going to guide you, your point of view, nobody else has it. So you have your motivations to come up with this new traditional wear. So your job now is to communicate that to the audience so they understand why you are doing what you're doing and embrace modernity. You are wearing Western clothes right now. Maybe you're presenting a new traditional wear for your tribe specifically. So it is up to you. You just have to learn to communicate it. That's it. I think we are out of time. But thank you so much. These are fantastic questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you at the next showcase, which is just around the corner. We are going to be showcasing Aliyah Bar all the way from Senegal. Thank you.